Hey there, awesome people. I am Brooke Summer, and you are listening to Business Straight Up, the podcast for creative entrepreneurs to learn, connect, grow, and build the business and life that they dream of. Welcome, let's get going and dive right in. Welcome back, amazing business owners, entrepreneurs, photographers, creatives, everyone and anyone who wants to actually make a living doing what they love, because it is time for the cliche of the starving artist to go. Today's guest, it is an amazing businesswoman, Jordan Gill, who helps doers, service providers, and CEOs add another revenue stream with VIP days. Jordan has a system that allows solopreneurs to create and sell larger offers so they can work less and live more. And I think we can all give a huge amen for that, for sure. Thank you so much for being here today, Jordan.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Brooke.
I know a little bit about your backstory. I know what I've read and what I know of you, but for anyone listening that hasn't had the chance to meet you in person or virtually, can you share a little bit more about what your journey has looked like and what got you to where you are now?
Oh, yeah. So I reign in Dallas, Texas with my little Cavapoo Vivian, who is like half laying in her bed, half not. We have a grand old time down here, and I've been in business since May of 2016. So a little hot minute,
Yeah.
time flies.
Yes.
But I started out as a service provider. And so I worked with seven-figure business owners with their behind the scenes systems.
Mhm.
So things like setting up evergreen webinars, things like setting up email campaigns, just all the nitty gritty fun stuff for me. And I learned a lot. But about 5 months into my business, which I never did the whole like halvesy, like side hustle thing. I pretty much just like left my job and like figured it out.
Yes.
I don't recommend it for anybody. It ended up working out for me, but it's very scary. But
Yes.
about 5 months in, I realized that monthly retainers I didn't enjoy. I didn't feel like I was coming with the normal energy and focus that I knew that I could have. And so I had to figure out a different way to work with clients. And I hired a sales coach at the time because I was like, I'm going to have to learn how to sell something other than like monthly retainers. So I started working with her, and she was like, she actually did VIP days. And I was
Okay.
like, that sounds super fun. And I was like, can I do that? She's like, yeah, sure. Anybody could do a VIP day. And so that's kind of when it started as far as for me, where I work with clients for a single day. So they don't get me on a monthly retainer. They don't get long project access to me. It's a singular day. We build one system together, and then they go off and be great. And I get to sleep or drink pina coladas. And that's how I wanted my life. And so I, for about 3 years, was doing just VIP days as my main source of revenue. Like 85% of my revenue was coming in. And it was 6 figures. I worked 4 days a month with clients, and the rest of the time I either went to events or I don't know, frolicked around the city. I don't know what I was really even doing. Like, I like look back at that time in my life. I'm like, what was I even like doing with all of that free time?
You were
Right.
doing
But
whatever you
I
wanted.
recognized that for real, like it just was like, I woke up and decided what I wanted to do. And it was like,
Right?
I saw everybody else in this industry and just in being a service provider, just so burnt out, like so, just overworked. And I'm like, that's not what you get into entrepreneurship for. You get into it for the freedom and for the time. And so I was like, well, I guess I should probably show other people how I'm doing this, because again, I'm able to live my life and not have to make as many sacrifices as a lot of other people. So that's when last year, about a year ago, I decided to make an adjustment, and I still do VIP days, but way less. So maybe one a month. And now I focus on my program, which is called Done in a Day. And that's all about helping other service providers move into the VIP day realm.
That's awesome. I know that when we've been in business for a while, it's much easier for us to look back and see what we've learned and how we've changed in the process. And someone told me once, it's smart to learn from your mistakes, but it's wise to learn from someone else's mistakes. And that's why I share my own mistakes so often, to help others hopefully skip past that same mistake. So, with that in mind, what was one of your biggest lessons or mistakes when you were first starting out?
Oh my goodness. I think, uh, well, for a lot of people, but for me, for sure, was just letting my own like mind garbage get in the way. Because at the time I was
Mm,
26 when I started my business, and my mind garbage was, oh, I'm too young. No one will trust my, insights or my advice or my strategies because I'm too young. People want to work with people who have experience. And I just had to be like, and thankfully it kind of came twofold. My naivete around it, I was just like, whatever, I'm just gonna figure it out. But then kind of in the back of my head, it did kind of slow me down on some things and made
mhm,
me really like step back and be like, am I in the right direction, instead of just like moving forward and just like
mhm.
trusting. I was a little bit slow to make decisions and slow to try things. But once I started trying, I kind of like started to kick that habit a little bit. But for me, it was really the mind garbage that comes with it, which we all have in a variety of
Yeah.
ways. But for me, it was this notion of, I'm young, no one will want to listen to me, and that was not true. And no one even said it to me. It literally was all in my head. So
How funny is it that we make up so many of these things that we hear that aren't
oh
even
my
real?
yeah, not real. No one said it. Like no one even whispered it. So
How funny.
what are we doing?
Right? When Matthew McConaughey was kind of doing like the podcast circuit with his new book, someone asked
Mm-hmm.
him, what was the best advice someone ever gave you? And he mentioned something about a grandfather, or I'm so sorry, I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something
Yeah.
along the lines of, I've had 1,000 crises in my life, and a
Uh-huh.
couple of them even happened. Meaning that they run
That's
through
so
our
true.
heads like crazy, and we just
Oh my
let
gosh.
ourselves go down the rabbit hole instead of knowing that even
Yeah.
if we make a mistake, we can keep going.
So true. Yeah, that's a really good quote. I'm gonna hold on to that one or go back and listen somewhere.
I know, I have to figure out where I heard it. Oops, he was on a few.
Yeah. Yeah.
what what is your why? Why did you start your business?
Yeah.
Why do you do what you
Mhm.
do?
So for me, it really is like our mission, our vision. When, I get on my team calls or I bring on new team members, the conversation is that we want to completely eliminate the word burnout from service providers' vocabulary.
Mm,
Um, I don't even want it to be a fear that may happen. I don't want it to be creeping up. I want people to get to experience true freedom in their business. And that can come with not even being concerned about burnout happening. And so with every intention that every offering, every social post, every podcast interview that I do is geared toward hopefully inspiring and empowering online service providers to really look at how their business is run. And I
mhm.
know that the conversation a lot of times is about money, because money is important. You have to, pay for things, and time. Time and
Right,
energy are resources that are just, those are finite.
right.
And so for me, it's much more important. And why, for about 3 to 4 years, like I didn't really care about growing my business because I was
Mhm.
making a good living and I was working the amount of time that I wanted to work. And so I really wasn't like, oh, I need to figure out Forbes 40, 30 under 30, or I need to figure out how to be a millionaire. Like I just didn't
Yeah.
really care about that. I was like, my business is here to give me a living and to
Mhm.
allow me to travel and allow me to spend time with my friends and my family and be there for all the exciting events of life. And so it's okay if that's what you want out of your business. And so there's no rush to all these other things. While I, now I'm in growth mode because I have different financial goals than I did
Mhm.
before. But I think really allowing for you to have the space to think of, how do I want to spend my time? How do I want to use my energy? Like, do I want to use it in the
Yes.
way that I'm currently doing it? Or is there something better?
To really design your life instead of just letting it take you wherever it wants to go.
Yeah, that's never a good idea.
What do you see repeatedly with your students and with the people you work with that tends to contribute to burnout the most?
I would say people pleasing tendencies.
Ooh, ouch. Yes.
Yeah. So, thankfully I'm not going to say it doesn't affect me, ever, but it definitely
Mm.
is not something that I struggle with. I'm very clear and direct in my boundaries and my expectations. Now, and I think that's why a lot of my clients come to me, is because they're attracted to the fact that, like, I'm pretty hardcore about that stuff. And so I think when you just, again, kind of let life play out and say yes to everything and allow
Yes.
for other people to determine when you're available or whatever the case, it's almost like you're living your life for all these other people.
Mhm.
And it really then gets you in a pickle, because if you're not living your own life, like, what's a more dangerous thing to be doing? Like, that
Yeah.
opens you up to all sorts of stuff, and liabilities and all the things. And so, just a simple, like, hey, like, I don't answer email after 5 p.m,
Yep.
whatever, it's an arbitrary number, but at
Yeah.
5 p.m, and somebody emails you at 5:03, like, are you
It's
going to
gonna
answer
have
that
to wait.
email?
Yeah.
No.
No,
Is
yes,
the
I'm with
answer.
you, girl.
Yeah. And
Yes.
so that's what I would say is what really can trip people up, is
Mhm.
as a service provider, we link service to being available and saying yes to everything.
That's good.
And that's not service, actually, because it has to be a mutually beneficial relationship. We're not the Ritz Carlton where they can say yes to everything because they have bajillions of dollars, they have bajillions of people, they have all of this infrastructure.
Mhm.
Why are we holding ourselves to the same standard as, these companies who are known for their customer service, who have way, way, way more capacity to be able to uphold that sort of standard?
Mhm.
For service providers, it's just us a lot of times, right? Maybe us and one other person, starting out. And so if that's you, don't hold yourself to the Ritz-Carlton or, Nordstrom standards. Like, stick to what is going to feel best to you. And a lot of people, if you just tell them what your, hours are, or what your expectations are, then they're
Mhm.
going to respect them. It's when you say nothing, when
Yes.
you get in trouble.
Yes, and managing those expectations up front is so freaking easy to do, but so many people
So
don't.
easy. Yep. Yep.
Oh,
So
so
simple.
true. So true. I know how much systems have literally saved my business on several occasions. What are some systems that you have in your own business or ones that you've worked on with your students that have helped you to be
Yes.
consistent and profitable?
Yeah. So obviously, I have so many systems. Well, everybody has a bunch of systems in their business, but maybe just a lot of them are broken or inefficient. But we have a lot of systems that I'm obsessed with. One of them being, and again, systems. I like to take out the, I guess, typical negative connotation of
Hmm.
systems. And really, a system is just a bunch of tasks in chronological order to accomplish a
Hmm.
goal. That's like literally
Yes.
it.
Yep.
So that's like your makeup routine, literally is a system, like your
Right.
workout routine, like your meal prep planning, your grocery store shopping, like all of these things are systems. And so, while I stay in the realm of like business systems, I just want to like throw it out there that you're doing systems every single day in every aspect of your life. And so for my business, one system that I really enjoy is our podcast batching. So
Mhm.
we just did this recently where I have 3 days that is scheduled the first month of every quarter, the second week of the first month of every quarter, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I get done about 20, it's between 20 and 24 episodes, which will
Wow.
take us, it'll be 2 episodes every week for that
Mhm.
quarter. And
Wow.
so it allows us to, well, really it allows me not to be the bottleneck, like if we're being
Yeah.
really honest,
Yeah.
and, stopping the train in its tracks of like, Jordan, go, record a podcast. And so that allows me to show up. It's like a party, and I show up and I get to talk to 20 to 24 new people, and we just get to talk and hang out and jam about whatever system they want to bring to the table. And then literally after those 3 days, like honestly don't even think about my podcast again.
Wow.
And not that I forget that it's there, but just like my team takes it and runs with it. And
Mhm.
again, we have our system laid out, and our quarter content is done for podcasts. So again,
Wow.
it's just a matter of putting the episode in its different phases
Mhm.
and pop it out in the format. So that's one of my favorite ones that we do. And then also like a really simple one, but like it's actually really profound, is if you use Slack. So if you do have a team,
Mhm.
and you use Slack for team communication, um, like between me and my ops coordinator. So if you have a virtual assistant or ops person and you're like dishing out tasks on Slack,
Mhm.
then what we have is like, if I give you a task in Slack, if you've seen the task, then you put the little eyeball emoji. So I know that you've seen it. And then when you've actually done
Oh.
it, you actually add the emoji, that's just like the check mark emoji. So when I see tasks that don't have either of those, I'm like, hey, have you seen this? Or if I see them with just eyeballs, but not a check mark, I can follow up and say, hey, have you have you done this, or is this still outstanding? And so again, it's just a little
Wow.
system of like, hey, I'm dishing this stuff out to you. And a lot of times it goes off into the abyss.
Yeah.
That's one way for it to have that checks and balances. That's like super easy to implement.
Yes. If you guys, I'm a little self-conscious on video because I look down because I'm taking notes. So if you guys see me looking down, I'm totally not ignoring you. I'm like, yes, girl, yes. I never thought about that on Slack because it's very easy for things to get lost.
Yeah, it is
Oh my
very
gosh.
easy.
I love that. For anyone that has zero systems really nailed down, and as you said, we use systems all the time, but a lot of people don't really write them down. They don't
No,
think about doing things in the same way every time. For someone that has zero systems nailed down and they are just overwhelmed at the thought of even thinking about it, what is one of the best steps for them to get started with implementing these?
totally. So for me, for service providers, I would say a scheduling link. So if you do not have Acuity or Calendly or even in Dubsado or other, there's like so many of the different softwares, what a scheduling link can do to your life is like beyond. I know people who like run their entire businesses out of Acuity for like
Wow.
$15 a month, like six-figure coaching or service provider businesses. It's amazing. And I think the amount of time, again, as a service provider, that you're going back and forth to try and figure out a meeting
Mm,
time is so inefficient and like
yes.
irresponsible at this point. Like I don't do work with people who do not have, like, I will not do a guest podcast if there's not a scheduling link. I will
Mhm.
not do anything if there's not a scheduling link. And my ops coordinator is like told, do not go back and forth with anybody. Like if
Yeah.
they don't have a scheduling link, that's like a sign that like stuff is really unorganized, and I just
Mhm.
like can't be a part of it. I can't do
Yeah.
messes. So I really believe that's like the first like really easy step, really simple step for people to figure out, is just like, what is my availability? What days do I want to take calls with clients? What days do I want to take sales calls? What days do I want to take team calls, if that's a thing? And making that availability in Acuity, Calendly, wherever. So that way, again, that's a boundary and an expectation that you are now
Mhm.
able to set. So again, instead of being like, just schedule a call whenever, just being like, Tuesdays and Thursdays are my client call days. So
Mhm.
if you need anything, like schedule them on these days and here's my link. And then it allows your clients to only see the times and days that are available for them. And so they won't see the random Wednesday time that you have or Friday or whatever, and just be booking all sorts of craziness. And that's how you
Yes.
start to get some of that time back, not only
Mhm.
from the like back and forth scheduling, but from the like boundaries and expectations between clients.
Today's episode is brought to you by the new and improved mentoring program with Business Straight Up. If you are struggling with something specific in your business and you need help that is personalized, I am excited to announce that I have officially added mentoring one-on-one back into my business. So what the heck is mentoring? Well, the nice part is that it's custom based on you and your needs for your business. I can help you with marketing or sales or branding, and so many aspects of running a business, mentoring is really part education, part accountability, and part inspiration. I want you to walk away from a mentoring session with me feeling on top of things, with clarity on where you want to go and how to get there and the steps to take to actually make it happen. If coaching or mentoring is something that you have been thinking about, it is time to get some details to see if we're a good fit. Go to businessstraightedup.com/mentoring to learn more and reach out so that we can start working together. I can't wait to see where you go in your business in 2021. Definitely. I just did an episode on a linear calendar, which is like the calendar, the month goes across the page. So all the Wednesdays are lined up, the Thursdays, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
But so many people were astounded that I book all my sessions and I work with clients on the same days every week. And they were like, how can you do that? I said, because I don't offer another option. Like, there is no other choice. This is when I'm available. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's cool. I love that. I've never seen, I don't think mine's set up like that. No, mine's regular.
I'm trying to think of where.
But, oh, that's so cool. Ooh.
I know, it's fabulous. But then I can just block out. So for instance, I don't work on Fridays. Those are my days with my kids. And so they're blocked out and I'm not available on those days. I don't take clients those days. And people just find that so crazy. They're like, how can you do that? I'm like, why would you not?
Right. Like if that's how you want to live your life, like again, take the Fridays off.
Yes.
But make it an option.
Absolutely. Because when you're the owner, the business owner, you run your own business, you get to make the rules.
You do, which is the beauty of it, right?
Right? Embrace it for sure. So for anyone that is unfamiliar with VIP days, can you explain them a little bit more? What does that mean? What does that look like?
Yeah. So how I describe VIP days is it is a 4-figure offering that lasts about 3 to 8 hours that leads your client through about a 3 to 5 phase transformation. I just use a lot of numbers because it's concrete. And I like concrete and certainty. And so, that allows you to, kind of, I'll walk through the different numbers. The 4-figure offering is because instead of, maybe you're a website designer, I'll do that as an example, and you currently are taking 3 months to do a website. Imagine getting paid the same or more for creating that website in a day. Yeah, I know people who create websites in a day all the time. I just hired somebody to do mine in 2 days. So it's possible. And that's why it's a 4-figure offering. Like people will pay more money to have it done quicker. This happens in every industry. I like to give Disney World as an example for those of you who are parents and have been to Disney World or have heard of it. There's like the regular ticket, which is like you wait 2 hours for this like 5-minute teacup ride. And it's like, what is happening? This is so inefficient. I can't handle this. And then there's a different ticket type that's a higher tier, that's more money, that where you actually only wait like 15 to 20 minutes. It's called like Fast Pass or Max Pass if you want to look it up. And that allows you to wait less time, but you get the same transformation, the transformation being the teacup ride in this example. So like people pay for faster cars, people pay faster for, pay more for delivery fees of food. They pay, like if you go to every industry, it's everywhere and it's proven. So in your industry, whatever you're working on, it can be put into a day in some way, shape or form. And it should be 4 figures because I truly believe in being paid what you're worth, and people will pay for, or really for your value, but people will pay more money for a quicker transformation. And then the 3 to 8 hours, as far as like time frame goes, is centered around not allowing your VIP day to bleed into another day. So I see people who are like, well, I kind of want to do like a 2-hour scenario. And what happens, as we all know, because we do this a lot of times as business owners, is all of a sudden your client will take a shower or like, go for a walk or something in between the time that you last spoke to them and the next time that you talk. And all of a sudden they want to completely derail all of the work that you just did. And so that's why I'm really, in every person, and I mean every single person, 99.99 / basically 100% of everybody comes back to me when they try to test me on this and say, you were right, Jordan. And so just don't do it
Right.
at this point. So keep it within 3 to 8 hours within a 24-hour period. That's how I like
Mhm.
to put it. And then the 3 to 5 phases is, this is not a strategy session. This is not a power hour. This is
Mhm.
not like a consultation call. This truly is you taking somebody through your process, through your transformation. And again, it could be in website design, it could be copy on a sales page, it could be launch strategy, it could be setting up your evergreen webinar, whatever your transformation is.
Mhm.
Chunking it down into 3 to 5 phases allows you to pace yourself throughout the day, but it also is really labeling you as an expert when people are coming to you. So if you're like, here's a random example. Like if you go to a hairstylist and they're like, hey, like I can, color your hair. It's like, okay, cool. And then you go to another colorist and you want, blonde hair. They're like, hey, I, have this 3-step process for how to transform your brunette hair to blonde hair.
Mhm.
Great. I want that because I know that she has done what I need her to do before,
Yes.
versus just being really broad and generic like everybody else. And so
Mhm.
that's really why I have those numbers and that definition, is to really solidify. If you can, have those 3 points, then your VIP day is going to be pretty awesome.
Absolutely. And for anyone listening that is like, how does this apply to me? I know that for me as a photographer, I
Hmm.
have talked about this for years, but I've never given it that title. And the bottom line is having a client experience that literally walks someone through the same experience every time. That's an elevated experience. They're not just coming in, take a few photos, leave,
Right.
and then I send them a gallery. That's BS. I almost said,
Mhm.
oh, I'm trying not to swear on here, but that's terrible. This allows me to truly spend my time working with one person. I only take one client per day.
Yep.
And that means that not only am I an expert at what I do, I have a higher price tag for that, but
Yep.
I only work with clients 2 days a week. It is totally doable,
Exactly.
guys.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it is.
What could these VIP days look like? Like I just talked about for photography,
Yeah.
what would it look like in other industries for other services?
Yeah. So, oh my goodness, there's so many different ones. So, one client was a relationships coach, and so
Hmm.
she helps partners really reestablish their connection.
Hmm.
And so she does a VIP day with couples, which is
Wow.
pretty cool, going through exercises and stuff like that, and then giving them the tools to then go and be great, obviously, in their relationship.
Hmm.
I've had people who have done, again, websites. I would say copywritings are common, strategists. So if you're a strategist for like strategic planning in a business, or launch strategy, or Pinterest marketing strategies,
Hmm.
any kind of strategy, honestly, is really crucial. So if you are somebody who's right now implementing, and
Hmm.
really your favorite part is the strategy, then you could just do a strategy VIP day, and that could be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I have somebody who builds Airtable bases in a day. You can get real niche with a lot of these. I know somebody,
Wow.
I think I don't want to say like weirdest one, but the one that tested my theory around this was
Hmm.
a woman who came to me and said, I write songs that help heal people through their trauma.
Oh, wow.
Can I do that in a day? And I was like, that's super powerful. Let me get back to you. And so
Right.
I went to, I'm not super woo woo. Again, being a systems person, I like 1 + 1 = 2. And so I think like the most woo thing I have is probably like this candle that I have right there. But I went and talked to one of my super woo woo friends, Laura, and was just like, hey, like, this is what this person wants to do and wants to do it in a VIP day. Is this something that like people would want? And she was like, oh my gosh, yes, like send her my way. That she would be a great referral for me. And so now she had this like direct referral, and now she's creating these VIP days where she works with the clients during the day to figure out what their trauma is, and et cetera. And then she
Hmm.
takes the rest of the day to record and produce like a totally original song, and then gives it to them at
Wow.
the end of the day for them to use for meditations and sleep and all of these things. And it's like so cool. And at first I was like, you might have stumped me, but I was like, yes. Success.
Wow. Wow,
Really
that's
powerful.
amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. I feel like so many service providers and creatives, and we like to chunk down into small pieces, and
Mhm.
that can fit sometimes, but a lot of
Yeah,
times when you just offer the full service and just go
yep,
all in really serving your clients, it does so well, not only from a business perspective, but from the transformation you offer them.
totally. Yeah, it doesn't, if you want to do the whole thing, it is possible. Like I said, the I guess it was just last month that I hired a gal to do 12 pages of a website for me in 2 days. And
Mm,
I was even like, I don't know about this. It's making me nervous. And
mm,
she did it, and it was amazing and beautiful and everything that I wanted. And so you can really, if it really can be done, it's just a matter of how do we speed up the process. And that's
mhm.
through a lot of templates, that's through a lot of like swipe files and plug and plays and all of the things that you can create to speed up your offering.
I know that I've talked about batch doing things previously because that's a
Mhm.
huge part of my own business,
Yeah.
not on the scale of yours. And you really should sell that podcast shit. Girl, what? 24 and one.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. But I've also noticed, so Todd Herman of the
Huh?
90-Day Year,
Yep.
he talks about context switching and how
Yes.
they found that, let's say you have two tasks to do in one day.
Yep.
100% divided by 2 would give you 50 and 50, right? But that's not how it works. Your
Yeah.
brain needs that time in between. So really it's more like 40 and 40 with 20% of your brain trying to figure out what the hell you're doing next. And I feel
Exactly.
like these VIP days would be extremely efficient
Oh yeah.
for not only you as a business owner and a service provider, but also for your clients too.
100%. Yeah, it really helps them. And a lot of my clients will just say like, I just need you to sit down and like
Mhm.
sit with me, because if you sit
Yeah.
with me, then I will focus and I will do what has to be done.
Yes.
Versus again, like fitting me in between client calls or podcast interviews
Mhm.
or whatever the case. And yeah, that's how, you can get a lot done for yourself as well as, your client, when you have
Yes.
focus. I think it's such an underrated like part of business, and people
Mhm.
fight it, but it is really powerful.
Definitely. And there are things that will take time to kind of think through. Like I know with my mentoring students, I will send them homework ahead of time. That way we can maximize our time together, right? So
Yes.
that they know exactly what we're going to put into these offerings, what we're going to do here.
Yep.
So it does require some pre work, but I think it's so worth it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that the and for people who are like, oh my gosh, I asked my client 2 questions and they fight me, how could I possibly get them to do pre-work? I've had that before. And listen, like I've had people, my pre-work is like maybe 2 hours or so it'll
Mhm.
take people. And again, for my website people, they've got 5 or 6 hours of pre-work for their clients to do.
Yeah.
And so, and they have their clients get it done, and
Yep.
it's totally fine. And so if you're having that issue
Yeah.
with those 2 questions, like just know that there are people and there are ways that you can work that in where the pre-work isn't super overwhelming or anything that anybody is upset about or,
Yeah.
fights.
Right. Well, and I think it comes down to the fact of, let's say your VIP day is 6 hours and
Yeah.
this is what you're paying for. You
Yep.
can either spend those 6 hours doing your work that I asked you to do ahead of time,
Yep.
or we can actually be implementing it. So your
Yep.
time just goes so much further.
Agree. Agree.
I know that these little nuggets of inspiration and wisdom mean so much to my listeners, and they have to me as well. What is one thing you would tell someone that is struggling in their business right now, either with overwhelm or trying to get those clients so that they can grow even further than they can imagine?
Yeah. So my one tip just of business overall is knowing yourself is one of, again, those things that people fight for
Know
some reason,
thyself. Yes.
because it's scary to know yourself. And one way that I think is really fun and super helpful is doing the Strength Finders assessment.
Yeah.
And so I'm obsessed with Strength Finders. I love it. I use it in my business all the time, just as a guiding light of just like where
Mhm.
I need to be and what I need to be doing. Because if I'm really outside of that, or if I'm starting to do something, I'm like, why am I hating this? Then all of a sudden I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, it's because I'm not supposed to be doing this. Like, this is
Mm-hmm.
not where I'm supposed to be. And so if you are feeling that overwhelm of marketing, like, how should I market? Like, what marketing works for me? Which ones will I
Yes.
enjoy? Because I hated marketing for the longest time, until you find marketing that works or that
Mm-hmm.
you enjoy. And that also goes to the offerings you have and all of that. But Strength Finders, I would say, is a really great, easy, I think it's like $19 or something,
Yeah.
to get to know yourself better. And they give you this like really awesome packet that you can read and
Mm-hmm.
really digest. And it's a lot of fun. So actually, this, I guess, just shows how nerdy I am. But my fiance and I had a date where I made him take the Strength Finders test, and we sat there and we talked about, like, do we agree with it? Do we not agree with it? And look at our like last strengths. Like, do we agree with those? So it was really helpful.
So can I just say that that was brilliant of you to do that before you were married, because I asked my husband to do it after we were married and that did not go over very well. So for anyone listening, do it before you're married.
Exactly. You'll get a better response, I'm sure.
Right? Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I think often our strengths will also align with what we love. So
Agree.
the things that we're good at will align with what we really love. And
Agree.
knowing your ideal client is so important, but like you said, also knowing yourself and where do those two intersect? What is that called? A Venn diagram, where it's
Yeah.
like
The
the
whole
two
circles. Yeah.
circles.
Yeah. Intersecting.
Right? Like, where does that intersect and where is my happy place? My zone of genius is so
Yeah.
important to know for sure.
Yeah.
To all of the listeners and amazing business owners, photographers, and creatives that have joined us, thank you so much for listening today. I am so honored that you pressed play and spent this time with Jordan and I. Jordan, where can people find out more about you and learn more about what you do?
Yes. So I am definitely on Instagram. That's probably my favorite social media platform out of all of them. So that's at System Save Me. I try to
Mhm.
keep it easy. I've got fun different resources and information on my website too, which is systemsaveme.com. And because you're listening or watching this podcast, you can add, you guessed it, System Save Me, the podcast, to your favorite podcast player. So any of those three places, you can find me or get to know me better.
Perfect. And if you are someone that loves to help other people and you know someone who can use this information, maybe you heard something and you're like, my friend just really needs to hear this. Can you forward this episode over to them? I know that Jordan and I would so appreciate that. And if you're thinking, wow, this content was amazing, Brooke, how can I thank you? I have a way you can thank me. Can you head on over to iTunes and leave a review? I know it seems small, it seems silly, but in the podcast world, those reviews mean a lot to us. So I would so appreciate you. It helps me know how I can better serve you, and it helps me get amazing guests like Jordan, right? So hit pause now if you need to. Leave a review. And if you screenshot that review before you submit it and email it to hello@businessstraightup.com, I have a freebie for you because freebies are fun.
They are fun. I agree.
Thank you so much for your time, Jordan. I'm so glad we could connect today.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me, Brooke. This was awesome.
And thank you to all of my listeners. And you didn't think I was going to let you get away without some homework, right? So I want to know, what is one small thing that you are going to do this week to start putting into place a system, or maybe look at these VIP days so that you can be more efficient in your business and get more done and not have to be spinning your wheels all the time? Let me know in the community at businessstraightup.com/community, because it is time to start stepping into the CEO role in your business and to be in the know as to what's going on so that you can be fully efficient in how everything is running. I can't wait to see what you do with your business and how you impact the world. And as always, if you have any questions, please reach out. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for listening to Business Straight Up. I'm so glad that you could join us today. Check out the show notes for this and all of the episodes at businessstraightupodcast.com. And I can't wait to talk with you again. Have a great day.